The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Soccer to the Max here, as we are talking more CONCACAF Gold Cup, as they're not even taking a break like last time. They are going straight on into round 3 of matches, with Group A starting again on Friday, but we just finished watching that miserable Jamaica and Mexico game, where Jamaica basically decided that after about the first 5 or 10 minutes they were not even going to try to go forward, and Mexico just eventually ran out of ideas. And it's so sad that Jamaica even had a final minute of stoppage time corner, and they didn't even try to take that. He just kicked it out of bounds. Just awful.
So that's what happened. Because I thought it was a big decision about whose foot touched the ball. And this, wow. This is a disgrace to that portion of my heritage.
Yeah, hey, they got a point, right? Literally, there was not much in that game other than Mexico having some chances and just Jamaica. Kubo Torres probably had the best one that went off the post in the first half. The rest of the time, Jamaica just kind of blocked chances, or they landed right in the lap of Andre Blake.
Well, there was a lot if you count the number of appearances by the stretcher.
Yeah, you had that too. A little bit of time wasting didn't hurt nobody, I guess, as they thought.
Yeah, it hurt ratings. And I mean, I feel bad for places like Houston and Denver, because they've kind of gotten the short end of the stick as far as Gold Cup matches.
Yeah, I have to agree there. Not the greatest set. I mean, look, this Gold Cup hasn't been the most exciting, I'm going to say, for TV. There's been some exciting players and some exciting moments, but overall the games have been kind of lackluster.
Lackluster, and in the case of US Martinique, frustrating. I haven't gone into an obscenity-laced tirade at my TV in a while, so I guess I can thank Bruce Arena for that.
Yeah, maybe. Oof. Well, we might go into an obscenity-based tirade because, the U.S. did not play their best against Martinique either until they had to at the end to make sure that they got the 3 points they needed. I also want to state that who else played? Was it who else? El Salvador. Curacao had a few chances, mainly one that went off the crossbar and down, hit the line, and went out. El Salvador looks like the better team in that game, as you'd expect. Celaya and Bonilla looked really good. Celaya got 2 goals. El Salvador wins, they get the 3 points, and now it's down to Jamaica and El Salvador. El Salvador will probably try to get a point to make sure that they get through to the next round. Jamaica, as long as, they're probably in as the best third at this point with the 4 points.
I would think so, especially with the way Group A is shaken down, although there's controversy with that now.
Yes, we'll get to that in a little bit here. I just wanted to go through the games that happened today. But, yeah, the I don't think I even watched the Panama-Nicaragua game because I had stuff going on. I remember watching highlights, and it seemed like Panama just, for the most part, just could not make chances for a while, and then they got a rally of 2 goals, and that was enough for them to get the win.
They didn't. I mean, I watched the end of the first half and the second half in its entirety, and those 3 goals back to back to back, that was pretty much all the action in the match, summed up in just those 15 minutes.
All right. Well, that means I don't really have to go back and watch that too much there. But yeah, no, I think neither one of these teams, I mean, the U.S. the same way. Let's get into this for the U.S. because, well, I guess we might as well let's talk about Group A for a little bit before we get in the U.S. so we can cover all the. Alphonso Davies looks good again for Canada. Obviously a tougher test in Costa Rica. These two draw 1-1. So Canada and Costa Rica got the 4 points, tied at 4 points going in. Costa Rica kind of unlucky not to get a few more goals. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Canada actually
defended
well and went forward when they needed to. They weren't like Jamaica where they just didn't even try to go forward, honestly. Even though they knew they were against stiffer competition in Costa Rica. Honduras, that was just laughably bad. Like, I don't know what's going on here, whether they thought, oh, who cares, we'll get the 3 points anyway, because of the Florent Malouda thing, or what, but they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
They couldn't in French Guiana. I mean, they tried. They got the ball under Privat a few times, but that was just bad luck. And again, CONCACAF being slow on the decision because they say one thing and mean another.
They should have had the decision today. That should have already been decided. I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. It is breaking a rule that is already set in FIFA guidelines. You just go, all right.
But the rule is, and how CONCACAF is framing this, CONCACAF is they're saying this tournament is under FIFA guidelines.
Right.
But French Guiana is not a FIFA country. They, as an overseas department of France, cannot qualify in a World Cup, cannot play in a World Cup. And the rule is, specifically for overseas departments, even more so for French Guiana, you can play for that nation if you have not played for France in 6 years. There it is, black and white. So, my question is, how are you going to apply FIFA rules to a non-FIFA country?
Yes, but the tournament, it's the tournament, not French Guiana itself. It's the tournament itself is governed under FIFA rules. So if FIFA rules state that that's what you're supposed to do, it's supposed to be what you're supposed to do.
Right, and I get that, but that's still, you are running a tournament under FIFA rules, which I understand, but you're not dealing with a FIFA country. You're not.
Right, but that doesn't matter. Or they shouldn't play in the Gold Cup at all.
Honestly, to me, yes, it does. CONCACAF...
Well, if you're going to be like that, they shouldn't play in the tournament at all because it's under FIFA rules then.
Then maybe they shouldn't. Because as is, I looked it up and even doing some research, I'm like, okay, France says, we don't care. You go have at it. FIFA says, you can't go to a World Cup anyway. This is the best you're going to get. So CONCACAF is really talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Right, but they need to go ahead. For me, This is already has a precedent set. Go ahead and honor it. Give Honduras the forfeit game. Then you go and make a ruling for this in the future, which probably won't happen in the future. Florent Malouda is just a special case.
Mm-hmm.
But you go ahead and make that for next time. Here are the specific rules for this situation if it ever happens again. That way you already know. Because for me, I totally agree with Fernando Fiore on the post-game show. Why is he even allowed to be in the 23 squad if he is not allowed to step on the pitch?
Yeah. CONCACAF, number one, should have caught it when they submitted the 23-man roster by that deadline and said, hey, whoa, wait. And again, as you sat here and said, they should have made a decision by now because they came out and said, okay, you play him, you forfeit.
Right. Not just that, you give Honduras 3 goals they didn't have, so that could screw up with the goal difference if that comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
And you screw other teams over.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not care. They said we want him to play. All right, he's going to play, and
we
lost our first game. Just wow.
Yeah, he captained that match against Honduras. Now, he wasn't out for the match against Canada, so that was no big deal. But yes, he started. He wore the armband.
Right, because they felt like, oh, well, they already lost against Canada. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Which, realistically, you still could have tried to get a best third. So that seems kind of dumb.
I kind of disagree. I think that they were honestly even lucky to get this point. They really were.
They were, but Honduras didn't score.
No, I mean, this is my point. If you take the controversy aside and say this is a legitimate match with no dark cloud, they were still lucky that they would be coming out of the tournament with a point.
I don't know. I think that game changes. I think that game changes if they don't already know beforehand that Malouda is going to be on the pitch.
And you know what I would do just as a bit of a mea culpa in the fact that they dragged this out for this long? I would give the result as is.
I disagree with you, but
no.
I
understand why you would disagree, but if you're going to take this long to make a decision once you framed this, after a while it gets to be, what's the point?
You're right. After a while it does get to be, what's the point? They should have had this done today before these games were over so that they could announce it on the pregame that Honduras officially has 3 points or not.
Completely agree.
And then, figure out what you're going to do. Because, again, this affects Honduras when they go in there and play against Canada tomorrow. They play tomorrow.
Yes.
So you would think that they have to have a ruling before Honduras plays tomorrow.
Uh-huh. Another reason why CONCACAF screwed up with scheduling and not giving this break. Because if they had the extra day break between match day 2 and match day 3, like they had between 1 and 2, then this would be less of a matter because they would have more time to get places out of places.
If they had the break, then you would have been having Group C matches on Monday, which they wanted to avoid.
Oh, boo, we don't want to play on a Monday. What the? Who cares?
Well, they always do that. So they can play the games on a weekend.
Who do you think you are? Wimbledon? No play on the middle Sunday? And they've even had to do that before because, oh, by the way, it's England. It's summer. Damn it, it rains. Deal with it.
Yeah, and then they can have the quarterfinals on.
Why does the soccer world find ways to piss me off? As if I don't have enough going on in my life.
But they always go towards that, trying to have the weekend end a group or whatever. That's just how it is. Even with other tournaments, that's kind of what they do. So,
well, you ain't other tournaments, CONCACAF. You ain't.
Hell, the UEFA Women's Euros is starting on Sunday afternoon. So we have a tournament starting on Sunday. We have a group stage ending on Sunday. So.
You see?
But yeah, we might as well get into this. This is the United States men's national team won 3-2 against Martinique. A goal from Omar Gonzalez and 2 goals from Jordan Morris towards the end, which were 2 really good clinical goals, by the way. Like, he hits one with his left foot as he's running. I really like Jordan Morris' performance on the goals. There's still some things he needs to do to get better, where I'm trusting him in that spot. I thought Agudelo played well, even though, he didn't get a lot of service there.
Not really, but I mean, I think that lack of service led to better individual play from Morris, if you ask me, because he decided he was going to take a lot on himself to create some chances, and it worked. Now, I don't want him to do that all the time, but I'm glad that it worked when he did.
I think Martinique was also smart. They went in with the idea of, we're going to take away Acosta,
which
and
they
Roldan,
did. Boy,
in the middle. I think also at Roldan's first cap, he doesn't play with Acosta very much. That kind of created an issue where neither guy was really going forward. They're just kind of there. And Matt Hedges had the blunder that we talked about, where he does this. And he did it in this game, which caused the goal. That was it the first or second? It was the second goal, right? The one that went over Guzan's head?
Yes, because the first one, Guzan looked like he was able to make a play. And by the way, Bruce, critical question for you. You say out of your mouth all 23 players are going to get opportunities in the group stage. I accept that. What in your nigh infinite level of wisdom meant that Guzan was going to get a second start in net? Why not Hamid or Johnson?
I don't know. I think not that Hamid doesn't make those stops, because he probably does, but I mean, they needed Guzan on that night, though.
Then why bring 3 keepers? Oh, you needed him? Yeah, to win 3-2 against Martinique? My God, I feel better just even saying this, the fact that I tweeted that Bruce Arena needed to be fired. I don't seem
to get fired after. Come on, that's ridiculous. They get fired after in a Gold Cup that from the beginning he has said that their intention here is to get some players for the World Cup next year, not really to win. Okay.
So you're not really aiming to win. So you put together a C team that barely beats someone with an island whose flag consists of 4 snakes. Gotcha, Bruce. I've got faith in you now. Way to go.
This Gold Cup, come on. It's the group stage of the Gold Cup. They're still going to go through. They have a chance of going through as still first of the group. At the end of the day, that's all that matters when you get to...
Are you not counteracting your own argument that we
No, I'm saying from Bruce's perspective, this is what he is thinking. He doesn't care about whether they play pretty soccer or whether they beat someone 6-0. He never has. He is a pragmatic guy. That's just how he is. I'm not saying that it's like what I want to see or whatever. I'm saying this is his line of thinking.
Yeah, well, sometimes in being a pragmatic person, pragmatic does not always work.
Works for some people. Hey, Mourinho's made a career out of it.
True, but even then, he gets commercials where he catches the toast right out of the toaster and gives his strategy on the whiteboard. And
he also gets criticized a ton.
Yeah, and hey, I'm the one joining the criticism. We're like, Mourinho, XYZ could have been a little better. You kind of slipping a bit. Where's that Mourinho that I wanted to smack in the face because Chelsea kept winning titles and United didn't? Where's that guy? Where's that guy who was speaking damn near fluent Italian when he was over in the Serie A? Where's that guy? I'm not seeing that guy.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't seem like he's like at Chelsea, always seemed like he was having that kind of fun. I think the thing is, like, he's obviously, like you said, right? He said he was going to play the 23 guys. Obviously, one of the keepers is going to get left out here, but...
Yeah, so why even bring 3 keepers?
All right. Just... Are we really going to harp on keepers? Come on.
As a matter of fact, in this case, when you are outlining a specific strategy and a specific mentality, you
does it matter if Sean Johnson plays? Not really.
Then you can't go and say that you're going to play all 23.
But he can also change his mind. I'm just saying. He can also change his mind and go, you know what? Maybe I'll give Bill Hamid a shot against Nicaragua if we have this sewn up. Right now they only have 4 points. Yeah, they're guaranteed maybe a best third at this juncture. Martinique still has 3 points, and there's no guarantee that Panama won't go through the same deal the U.S. went through. So, and Panama had a tough time with Nicaragua.
All the more reason you say, hey, I need to whip it out and swaffle a few people. Maybe I should do that.
Right. I don't think he needed to make the 8 changes that he made into this, because then you're creating the lack of chemistry that this team already has, because you have a lot of younger guys and guys from MLS that are not playing with each other. And so, I think some of them were fine. Like, you needed to have a game where Matt Hedges was out there just to see what you have. Because I think I made this, we made this clear that Beasler, we knew what we have in him.
Mm-hmm.
And they really could have taken Gonzalez out of there, too, if they wanted. But I think he wanted some kind of stability. And at the end of the day, it created where Gonzalez was out of position all the time and not really... there what he's supposed to be. And then, I thought Eric Lehigh actually played pretty well, too.
Yeah, Lehigh, I like the way he played. He was a much more calming presence in that back line. Great when he was approached more one-on-one or in odd man situations. He held himself quite well. I got no knock against that.
Who played on the right midfield?
Oh, I can't remember. I was screaming too much.
It was Agudelo and Morris up front.
Mm-hmm.
It was Acosta and Roldan in the middle. It was it Kellen Rowe again?
I think so. I think it was.
That's bad. This is bad radio, folks.
Well, it's almost 2 a.m, so they can only expect so much.
We should remember this. Oh, Jossie Sardes played on the left, and Why is it not showing me who played on the right? That's stupid.
You see, even the internet wants to forget that happened.
Right? It was... Why? Yeah, so anyway, I mean... I did like the Dax sub at the end. He kind of short thing. Oh, it's Paul Arriola. That's who it was. Which he kind of puts Paul Arriola like all over the place, and it's hard to pin down where he's really supposed to be. So I think he also had Justin Morrow in there at some point. Did he put Morrow in as a sub, right?
No, he was a starting 11.
Yeah, he was. Okay. That's what I'm trying to figure out, and you're not helping me here. Oh, he was the left back. Never mind. That's what it was. It was Morrow, Lehigh as the backs. I thought Morrow was okay. That's obviously a position he does well with Toronto. Villafaña hasn't always impressed either. So, making the change there is fine. I just wish that Morris would make those runs into the box a lot sooner.
Well, I mean, again, he's trying to develop this style because, take note, look who's the key man up front in Seattle. It ain't him. Now he was in a situation tonight where he was more the key man up front, and he started to gel and take on that mantle deeper in the second half. Once he realized he had to be, he just has to have that mentality throughout the whole 90.
Yeah, at least he did do it, but I think that also helped with Bedoya coming on and being able to figure out the defense really quickly and not just kind of being lost there. I don't know what was going on with, I think it's just Arriola that's not natural for him to play in that sort of, in that role, and I think Bedoya, obviously with the experience he has, he's going to know what he's doing, so it shows, I think, that the U.S. national team doesn't have the depth that they think they do. Either that or they just took this team lightly.
No, it's both, and we don't have the depth. We're not like Germany, who can put together a bunch of young guys and whoop everybody and win a major international tournament. We know now we have a C team that should be capable of beating teams like Martinique 4-5-0, but it ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, they did have chances, right? Just, they didn't go in. They weren't like the numerous amount either. Just
even if the match had ended 3-0, I would have been okay with that.
Right,
I would have been like, with chances and this and that, but no, 3-2. I should not be on the verge of throwing my remote at my TV for this kind of match.
Well, again, let's see what they do against Nicaragua, and let's see when you get to that quarterfinal, whether it winds up being against a Canada or it winds up being against Honduras or Jamaica or El Salvador, for that matter. How you play against those teams. Obviously, Jamaica can't go out and try to play negative football for 90 minutes. They're going to have to try to actually score. Because if not, I guess they don't. They can go to penalties if they want.
No, they're going to want to try to score because they're at the point where, like, we got to the final 2 years ago, Let's see if we can make another solid run to the final again this year.
Could you imagine if they do have Jamaica in the U.S.? What a shot at vengeance there is right there. But yeah, I think that sort of covers it for the Gold Cup on our end. We'll of course talk about the next slew of games on the Sunday show with Rachel. Hopefully she's not yelling and screaming at them playing terrible at Nicaragua, because she's going to be at that game. So we'll get a nice, different perspective than we do just from getting to watch it on TV.
Especially if they play well enough so where she doesn't walk out. Which, Rachel, if you listen to this, I still completely support.
I support as well. We support you in wanting to walk out and hitting Cullen Acosta for wearing Fabian Jones's numbers. Totally agree.
Now, if you want, Rachel, I can show you some tricks that I've seen from other fans at Cleveland games about how they can conceal things so that way they can throw them onto the pitch. If you're interested.
That's not the greatest thing to show someone, but...
Look, it's Cleveland. There's precedent. It comes in handy.
So, U.S. Open Cup. San Jose defeats the Galaxy in the Clasico. Miami and Cincinnati get their game rained out. Literally, the pitch became a lake and they couldn't play.
Okay, I have to ask you something. If thunderstorms could play soccer, would they really utilize a 4-4-2 formation? Because if not, then I have to send a tweet to FC Cincinnati.
If Thunder could play, would they start in a 4-4-2?
Yes.
So what, there's going to be little lightning bolts on...
Yes, if you look at FC Cincinnati's tweet, their starting 11 against Miami, they had 11 thunderstorm emojis and a 4-4-2 with the keeper, of course. That got me to thinking, would it really be a 4-4-2 formation? Or with how vulnerable Lightning is, would they switch more to a 4-4-3? Would they go Brazil and do a 3-4-3 instead?
What the hell are we talking about?
Mind.
You are blowing my mind that we are talking about this at 2 in the morning. Like, come on.
This is what happens when I'm sober. I remember these things and I think about them.
Oh, man. I'm glad that we talked about lightning and thunder. Literally.
Kudos to FC Cincinnati for giving me a fresh perspective on this. Because I'm like, wait, would that really be I had to sit and think about it for a while.
Dallas got whooped 3-0. Of course, Dallas missing some of their bigger players. And SKC also missing players. But Benny Feilhaber had himself a show. Another guy that could have been starting for this squad, U.S. men's national team. But, you know.
Okay. Do you feel worse at the fact that Sporting Kansas City finished with 9? Or the fact that all of those goals were in extra time?
All the goals were in extra time.
Okay.
They still had 9 in extra time, and they somehow scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also like 120 degrees wherever they're playing. So, you know, Dallas was tired by that point, but come on.
Yeah, but it's Dallas, which, by the way, South U.S. Open Cup, South.
So Sporting KC moves on. They will play San Jose. Whoever wins out of Miami and Cincinnati will play the New York Red Bull, who won off a late goal by Bradley Wright Phillips.
87th minute toe poke, which that was actually a pretty even match up until you had the scrum where Revolution got a red card. Immediately, Sasha Kleshins thinks, hey, I can go and make this free kick. And he didn't. So there was that.
Why did the Revs get... So it was a big scrum and somebody punched somebody? Is that...
Yeah, from what I saw, I'm pretty sure somebody said a word about somebody else's mama, and that bad things happened.
You can count on most fights starting because somebody said something about somebody's mama. So
Exactly, and you're not in a place like Jersey or Philly where you can settle this with a dozens contest. No, you're at Harvard to where if there's not a chalkboard or something where you can figure out complex equations, you'll punch somebody.
that doesn't seem too complex. Pulling Harvard in there, but...
Well, again, there were no chalkboards on the pitch, so you couldn't have the students write up, Maxwell's equation or things like that right there to come up with the proof in QED, so they resorted to punching people.
Yeah, you could just done it in your head, maybe.
Nah, but still, it's not like gridiron football where you could still run and think of an electrical engineering exam while you're scoring a touchdown. It doesn't operate the same way.
Fair enough. The Red Bulls... You know what? Maybe Miami has a shot. Or Cincinnati, for that matter. They both have played well.
Especially if they host.
Yeah, well, so we shall see if they wind up hosting or not. But Open Cup looks intriguing. Of course, it's 3 MLS teams to the 1 NASL or USL team. And, maybe there will be magic and you don't have an all-MLS final like you have for many years, but I don't know. I don't know that I would bet on it at this point.
No.
And there is MLS news because the transfer window is officially open now. The Minnesota United, they signed a few people. You might remember New Zealand great Michael Boxall, the man that started the scrum against Mexico in the Confederations Cup. He also went to college at UC Santa Barbara and was selected by Vancouver in the 2011 MLS supplemental draft and made 19 appearances before moving on to Wellington Phoenix. I thought he was fine for New Zealand. I mean, this is another...
Mailman.
All right, Adrian Heath. Good. You went and found...
You found a mailman. Congratulations.
Now, Scottish winger... This Scottish winger that also signed for Minnesota United, Sam Nicholson... He's actually played well for Hearts. He plays there with Perry Kitchen. They finished 3rd in the SPL. Yes, I know that's not a great honor, but they are qualified for Europa League, and they made a pretty big Scottish League Cup run too. So he helped with that.
Okay, but he couldn't end a title drought in basically a one-team league.
Oh, come on. Like, are we serious now?
I am.
Like, Celtic is the one team because they beat everyone.
Exactly. So you figure you can't. Okay. You lost the title once based on goal average, where you would have won it on goal difference. You lose the title again based on goal difference when you could have won it on goal average. You can't get any sort of luck outside of that in more than a half a century.
Not when 2 teams were dominating and now it's just one team, but... Two teams
So
were dominating everything.
you can't put together an 18-man squad that does just enough to beat that one team. If Leicester City can beat out the top 6 in England, you can't beat one.
You're right, but Celtic is like having a super team on the pitch. It's like
Yeah, and super teams get beat. I witnessed that firsthand.
I know, but for a league, you're asking a little bit much here.
Okay, so you perform just enough over a span of 38 games.
Not everybody gets to be Leicester City.
God knows what you can do, especially since you still have the split where you can finish more points, yet finish 7th instead of 6th because of... Oh, dear Christ. Okay. I am too sober for this.
Anyway, Sam Nicholson provides some speed and help on the wings that Minnesota actually needs. I don't know if Boxall was going to, be their cure-all defensively, but he helps bring some experience back there as well.
I trust mailmen carrying my mail, not playing soccer.
Except for Eric, who makes a very good point about them needing to get mail and not play soccer, but technically, at least now he'll play in the United States, Mr. Boxall. The LA Galaxy have signed Dutch fullback Pele van Aanholt. He's 26. He played for Willem the second, or Willem II.
Willem the second.
Willem the second for in the Eredivisie. He made 24 appearances. And he also played for Heerenveen, which Michael Bradley also played there in the past. I'm not going to sit there and act like I watch a lot of Dutch soccer.
Simple. So, they don't score. That's all you need to know.
Now, I have Josie or Aaron Johansson.
Even then, that's why they were able to flourish, because they actually know how to score. Now, I have 2 questions for this defender. Number 1, why are you a defender with the name Pele? To me, that doesn't work. And number 2, can you hook a brother up with a space cake that you can get on the trip over?
Maybe he can make the space cake happen.
Because I could really use one right now. The squid is going through some rough waters.
Let's help a squid out right now. Get him a space cake. So yes. They only sell that in Netherlands?
Well, they sell it with the best materials. Things become shiny after about 2 of them instead of the necessary 4.
I thought it might be something that, you went to Whole Foods, you maybe get or something.
No.
Makes me sad. We'll have to find some other way to cheer you up. I'm not saying that this certainly will not do it for you, but it's something else that happened. The Montreal Impact made a trade with the San Jose Earthquakes to get Shaun Francis. He provides depth on that back line. He's actually playing for Jamaica right now in the Gold Cup, but he's only 30. He's got some time left. He's played 98 games in the league.
It's not too many, so there's still some tread on the tires.
Yeah, I think he got hurt for 1 year as well in the past, but he plays pretty well. Don't know if he's going to just go in there and start for
they'll find a way to ease him in. I mean, they've got the entire almost second half of the season left, so... Now, my thing is, how are they going to manipulate his stats so they can get whatever best suits them?
But Montreal has given up 29 goals in 17 games, so they needed that defensive help.
They did.
And I think that's it for the moves right now, other than Colombia midfielder Juan Quintero has said that he is coming to MLS. There's rumors going around that it could be the Chicago Fire, but looks like all of MLS is looking at him, and
Come to
very well they
Orlando.
should.
Come to Orlando instead, and whatever you do, avoid DC.
I would agree with go to Orlando. Would help them. If Chicago gets him, talk about embarrassment of riches, right? I mean, you're going to add another person to the midfield, you're going to take somebody out.
Exactly. That's why I say come to Orlando. You don't have that problem. And again, avoid DC for your own sanity.
He is not wrong there. He is not wrong at all. And the last thing we're going to do, and this was for fun, we don't obviously talk too much about, since, Rachel's not here, and none of these teams are going to play in the tournament that happens at the end of the month for the U.S. Women's National Team, but we did see them in the tournament where France beat the U.S., England, and Germany. And it's always interesting, these Euros. Germany has won it 6 times in a row. Not joking. That's the truth. Germany has won this 6 times in a row. The Euros. This, of course, is the UEFA Women's Euro 2017. It is the first tournament that is going to be 16 teams for the women here. So there's 4 groups. Netherlands is hosting, so they're in Group A. And they're in with Norway, which we've seen against the U.S., Denmark, and Belgium. What do you think?
Norway, space cakes for everybody. I would guess Denmark?
I'll say Norway and the hosts. Why not? Norway, Netherlands getting through here. Group B is the group of death, and I feel bad for Rachel because her Russians are in here. Germany, Sweden, Italy, and Russia in Group B.
Germany because they're Germany, and Sweden.
Yeah, Germany, they're the holders. They've won this again. They're looking for their 7th in a row. Sweden, of course, also a powerhouse in women's soccer. I would imagine that they win. Yeah, Germany and Sweden going through for me. Group C has France, Iceland, Austria, and Switzerland. Kind of an eclectic group there. France definitely going to be leading this group. And woof. Why not? Why not pick Switzerland for the hell of it?
Well, I mean, while I love the Vikings, can't necessarily pick Iceland. France definitely. I'll stick with you. I'll go Switzerland. Be a bit of a wild card.
And then finally, Group D, you have England, Scotland, Spain, and Portugal. Very interesting group as well. I think England definitely gets through here. After that, I'm gonna say like Spain or something. England and Spain.
I want to say England, Spain myself, but I'm going to make it interesting and go England, Scotland.
That would be fun to see that happen. England, Scotland. How much hate is there going to be in that match when they finally play each other?
No, they're the women's team, so I don't know if this animosity is there like it is between the men's teams, but neither of them play too often anymore, which is kind of sad.
They should. They should play more often. So we have Norway against Sweden. I think Sweden is winning here. You have, what's Group D? England against Switzerland. Got England going through there. I'm gonna say England with the upset of Sweden,
No.
and then England gets to the final on that end. I'm
Oh.
gonna say Germany beats Netherlands. I'm sorry, and then don't hate me, host. France beats. I had Spain and you had Scotland. I think France beats Germany this time, and then France goes on to win the Euros. They are, to me, they beat the U.S. They won that tournament. I think they're looking primed, and they have a terrific team. I think France wins this thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if France won, but
I do want to say this is the second tournament in a row where we have picked France to at least make or not in a row, but we picked France to make a final. It didn't look good for us the first time. So.
Well, true. That's why I say, to kind of protect myself, the way Germany's rolling, especially that women's team, I personally say the dynasty continues.
You think it's Germany and Sweden?
Yeah, and Germany takes it. Now, it's going to be a defensive effort, but I would say, I don't know, maybe a 1-0 German win in the final.
So Germany for the 7th time in a row. You're boring.
And I'm sorry that this is the state of things. We were talking and we were wondering who is the second best team in the world, and I'm like, Germany? When it comes to the women's side? Now, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't call it an upset if France beats them in the knockout stage and wins. But, again, why go against the 6-time defending champions?
They gotta be beaten sometime, right?
True. That might not be this time.
You're right. It may not be this time, but I'm gonna hope it is, just to have a new champ.
I don't know. I mean, again, they might feel that pressure with how the men did over in Russia, so I'm factoring that in as well.
They could. You're very well right about that.
This Fraulein Mannschaft.
So this tournament is obviously, like I said, held in the Netherlands. It starts on Sunday. Most of the games are noon Eastern, and then 2:45 to 3 Eastern, U.S. time. And then they're all on ESPN3. Watch ESPN, except for the final, which is on ESPNU. So don't look for it on TV, unfortunately. You can cast to your TV or watch it on your favorite streaming device or whatever, but it will not be on ESPNU, ESPN2, ESPN, or any of that. It's just on ESPN3 and the mobile app there. So
because TV rights.
Well, because it's not the U.S. and they've got to prove that they can get ratings, and I think that's fair. You know, it's not like the men's Euros where we know what you get even if England's not around. I think with the women's Euros, you gotta show that the women's game has really grown to the point where even when the United States women are not playing, people care.
True.
Or when Brazil's not playing or whatever, which, you know, Germany, England, France, who else here? Sweden, they're all teams that are really good. And people, you know, we've seen that they come out and give the U.S. a lot of fits and everything, so you'd think people would want to watch them, but sometimes, you know. There's also that big men's friendly tournament going on, the International Champions Cup, that will be happening at the same time. So that's not going to help matters either for that stateside, which that's also going to be on ESPN. 3 and 4. 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 as well. So if you want to check out Manchester United and friendlies against the Galaxy and Real Salt Lake, you can do that. And there's, numerous amounts of teams playing in the U.S. Of course, there's also teams playing in Singapore and China as well. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for us here.
Don.
Oh,
we used to be on good terms, Don. We were okay, Don.
So
you really didn't think I would peek ahead at the schedule for Wednesday the 19th? Oh, mister, we're going to have 7 midweek games, all in a span of about 4 hours. Come on, Don. No, we've talked about this ad nauseum. You don't do this, Don. People have other things to do, Don.
Apparently, not for Don. Not for Don, he doesn't.
I have to get up and work in the morning just like you do, Don.
Well, Don gets to sit in an office or travel or whatever. He doesn't have to go out there anymore to do all that. So, but Eric was right. There are 7 MLS games happening on Wednesday. Montreal and Philly, the Red Bull San Jose, NYCFC in Toronto. Those are all 7:30. Minnesota and Houston are on at 8. And then you have 3 games on at 10:30. 3. We had 1 game on at 10:30 that we had to wait till frickin' almost 1 a.m. to do the podcast. LA Galaxy, Vancouver, Portland, and Real Salt Lake, and Seattle and DC United. Oh, and this is also when Group B, the United States, is playing.
Don? Really, Don?
And unless...
Be nice to the people that work in cubicles, Don.
Unless the United States happens to get a best third for some reason, they will play either before these games start or during these games, which won't help their ratings either. So, Don.
Now, let me ask. There are 3 main factors that would get me off Don's back. Are Fox Sports Atlanta covering any of these games?
Well, let's see here. Let's go through this again. Montreal and Philly, MLS Live. Red Bull San Jose, MLS Live.
Okay. The Montreal-Philly game, is that in Philadelphia?
No, it's in Montreal.
Strike 1. Continue.
Why?
CSN Philadelphia.
Red Bulls is in Red Bull Arena against San Jose.
Okay.
NYC is in Yankee Stadium against Toronto.
Okay.
And Minnesota plays at home. I feel like every time we watch Minnesota, it's Minnesota playing at TCF against Houston.
Gee, I wonder why. Continue.
Galaxy are at home against Vancouver.
Okay.
Portland are at home against Real Salt Lake.
Okay. All right. 1 point in favor.
What?
1.
Oh, the atmosphere?
I'll explain later.
And then Seattle are at home against DC.
So I only get the benefit of Portland, Don. I don't get CSN Philadelphia, Don. I don't get Fox Sports Atlanta, Don. This doesn't do me any favors, Don. Come on,
MLS
Don.
Live.
Yes, but the MLS Live, that has these local coverages. I support local networks and local broadcasts and local broadcast teams and sideline interviews and maybe some halftime occasionally.
Well, we can't win them all, I guess.
Come on, Don. We can't. You can't keep doing this to me, Don.
Yeah, you're giving us too many 9 games to watch on Wednesday. Thanks, Don. Thanks. Even though you have nothing to do with the scheduling of the Gold Cup, I'm just throwing it on you. It's your fault, Don.
Yes, it is. Because it is.
All right, so of course there will, like I just mentioned, Galaxy and Real Salt Lake will also be playing the Champions Cup. So that's gonna stink for them. They're gonna go and play a couple of days before, and then go play these games that are supposed to matter a lot more because they're MLS games. But
Yes, Don. Didn't think about them, did you, Don?
good job, Don. Just a good job. All right, so now this is it for us. Of course, we'll be back on Sunday, being able to talk the end of the group stage for Gold Cup. We will maybe talk about some International Champions Cup, maybe some Women's Euro if we watched it, and whatever else, and maybe some more MLS transfer news since that is wide open right now, and whatever else is happening in the world of the American side of things on soccer. And until then, we'll see you later, everybody.
Peace. Don.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.